All right, so today we're going deep with Søren Kierkegaard. And
Oh, yeah.
he wasn't exactly like writing those self-help books you see, on the bestseller lists.
Right.
This guy, this Danish philosopher from way back in the 1800s,
Yeah.
was wrestling with the big questions,
Oh,
faith, existence, the meaning of life.
like the whole
Shebang.
Yeah, the whole human experience.
Yeah, exactly.
He was really grappling with those big questions, and what makes him so fascinating is how he did it.
Right.
Kierkegaard didn't just write, those typical dense philosophical treatises you might expect.
Yeah.
He used these pseudonyms, these fictional characters, to kind of explore different angles, different perspectives.
Pseudonyms. Like he was playing some kind of philosophical game.
Exactly.
I mean, imagine picking up a book and instead of the author's name, it's
Right.
something like Johannes the Silent
or
or
Victor the Hermit.
Victor the Hermit. Yeah.
It's like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And that was precisely his point. He wanted to make you question, to make you think for yourself,
Yeah.
not just take things at face value.
So in this deep dive, we're going to try to untangle some of these ideas, these mind-bending concepts that Kierkegaard put out
Yeah.
there and see how they connect to us.
Absolutely.
I mean, how they still
Okay.
resonate with us today.
Still resonate today.
Centuries later.
Absolutely. And to really get into it, I think it helps to kind of understand the world he was reacting against.
Okay.
So picture Copenhagen in the 1800s.
All right.
This was a time when this big philosophical system called Hegelian idealism
Oh, yeah.
was all the rage.
Hegelian idealism.
Okay, you can kind of think of it like trying to explain, the whole universe
Yeah.
with one grand theory.
Like fitting everything into this
Exactly.
this neat little box.
That's it.
Okay.
But Kierkegaard,
Yeah.
he was all about the individual, the subjective experience.
Right.
He really believed that those personal truths
Right.
were just as valid
Yeah.
as any grand universal theory.
So he was kind of like a rebel, like pushing back against this
Exactly.
big
He
system.
was a rebel in the philosophical world,
Okay.
pushing back against that dominant way of thinking.
So how did this focus on the individual actually play out in his work?
Right.
I know he had this idea of like 3 stages of existence,
Yes.
which sounds a little intimidating, to be honest.
Oh, it might sound complicated, but it's actually, you can picture pretty simply.
Right.
Imagine someone at a party, like a wild party, just living for the moment,
Uh-huh.
chasing pleasure.
Yeah.
That's what Kierkegaard called the aesthetic stage.
Okay.
Then, they might settle down,
Right.
get a job, start a family,
A typical,
maybe get involved in their community.
yeah, trying to live ethically.
Right. Trying to be a good person.
Okay.
That's the ethical stage.
All right. So those two, so far, so good.
Yeah. Relatable.
But there's that third stage, right?
There's that third stage,
Yeah.
the religious stage, and this is where things get
This is where it gets interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
Kierkegaard believed that even when you're living a good life, an ethical life,
Yeah.
there's still this point where you might feel like something's missing. And that's where the need for something bigger than ourselves, something beyond ourselves, kicks in.
Something transcendent.
That's it.
Okay.
That yearning for something more.
So it's not like one stage is better than another. It's more like we move through
Right.
these different
It's not a hierarchy.
seeing.
It's not like you're climbing a ladder.
Yeah. Throughout our life.
It's more like different ways of being in the world
Yeah. That makes sense.
and what they tell us about ourselves.
Okay. That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
So speaking of existential stuff,
Right.
there are 2 other big concepts that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
And these don't exactly sound like, fun party topics.
Definitely not light conversation.
Anxiety and despair.
Right.
Now, I'm curious.
How did Kierkegaard view these? Because he didn't see them as just purely negative emotions, right?
He didn't see them simply as negative.
Okay.
He thought they were actually fundamental to the human experience.
So help me out here.
Okay.
How could anxiety and despair possibly be a good thing?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
When we feel anxious,
Yeah.
it's often because we have choices to make.
Okay.
And those choices, they actually matter.
Right.
The weight of all those possibilities.
Mhm.
That's what can create that anxiety.
Uh-huh.
But it also means that we're free.
Okay.
We have the freedom to shape our own lives,
Yeah.
to create our own meaning.
That's a good point.
Right.
Like, that pressure we all feel to have the perfect career, the ideal life, whatever that means,
Right.
that comes from the fact that we do actually have choices.
Exactly.
Even if those choices
Even if it makes us anxious.
freak us out sometimes.
Exactly.
Okay.
And despair, for Kierkegaard, wasn't just about feeling sad. It was more about this struggle with our limitations as humans.
Okay.
We have these longings for things we can't have, like perfect happiness or immortality.
Yeah,
Like
the big stuff.
the big things.
Yeah.
And it's facing that gap between what we want and what we can actually achieve.
Mm-hmm.
That's where despair comes in.
So it's that yearning for the infinite,
Yeah.
even though we're
finite.
finite beings.
Exactly.
Okay.
And for Kierkegaard, that tension
Right.
between our finitude and our infinite desires,
Yeah.
that's what leads us to the question of faith.
Okay, so let's talk about faith.
All right.
This seems like it's where a lot of these ideas come together for Kierkegaard.
Absolutely. This is really where he breaks away from, that traditional religious thinking.
Okay.
For Kierkegaard, faith wasn't about logic or proof.
Yeah.
It was about a choice, a radical choice,
Oh, okay.
a leap into the unknown,
A leap of faith.
a leap of faith, exactly. A deeply personal encounter with the divine
Right.
that defies, rational explanation.
So it's not about...
Checking boxes or following rules.
Yeah.
It's more about this
It's about the experience.
intense subjective
Yeah.
experience.
Exactly.
Okay.
For Kierkegaard, faith was a matter of the heart,
Right.
not the head.
And to really explore this idea,
Yeah.
he used those pseudonyms we were talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly. Those pseudonyms.
It's a philosophical game.
Yeah, like a mask, right?
Yeah, like a bat.
Putting on different masks to explore these ideas.
So how do those fictional characters actually fit into all this?
Well, you can think of each pseudonym as a different voice,
Okay.
kind of wrestling with the challenges of faith.
Right.
Take Johannes de Silentio, for example.
Johannes de Silentio. Okay.
He really dives deep into the story of Abraham and Isaac,
Oh, wow.
where God asks Abraham to sacrifice his son.
Yeah, that's a heavy one.
It's a heavy story.
Yeah.
And Johannes explores, the terror.
The absurdity of that situation.
Right.
The complete surrender of reason that faith demands.
It's like the ultimate
It's the ultimate test.
test of faith.
Exactly.
So not exactly a feel-good message.
Not a feel-good message, no.
But it does sound like a powerful way
Right.
to explore what faith really means
It makes you confront what it means to truly believe
on like a personal level.
on a personal level, yeah.
And by using these different voices,
Right.
he could avoid kind of presenting his own views
Exactly.
as
dogma.
as the absolute truth.
It's like he's saying, hey, I'm not going to tell you what to think.
Yeah,
Here are some tools. Now go figure it out for yourself.
that's it.
Yeah, and that's so different from how we usually talk about faith.
Right.
It's not about just blindly accepting things.
Yeah.
It's about engaging in this
It's about the struggle
struggle
to understand what it means.
to understand.
Yeah, to understand
Yeah, what it means to believe.
what it means to believe. Yeah.
It's an ongoing process.
It's a process.
not a destination.
Yeah, exactly.
So, welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Søren Kierkegaard.
It's like we've stepped into one of those, those choose your own adventure books, but for philosophy.
Exactly.
And speaking of choices,
Right.
we can't ignore those pseudonyms, those
Yep.
fictional characters he used to explore these ideas.
That's
Yeah.
such a brilliant way to kind of present different perspective
Yeah.
without forcing a single interpretation. Right.
And it goes back to what we were talking about before,
Yeah.
about that individual perspective, that subjective truth.
Exactly.
It's like he's giving us the pieces,
Yeah,
and
right.
we have to put the puzzle together ourselves.
He's not giving us a neat conclusion.
Oh.
He's saying, here are the tools.
Yeah.
Now you go figure it out.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to tell you what to think.
Yeah.
Here's how to think about it.
That's it.
Okay, so one of those tools, one of those ways of thinking,
Yeah.
is that idea of the 3 stages of existence.
The 3 stages, right?
Yeah, remind me about those again.
Okay, so we've got the aesthetic,
Yes.
the ethical, and the religious.
Okay, and each of those pseudonyms kind of embodies a different stage.
Yeah, they give us a glimpse into
Yeah.
those different ways of being in the world.
Okay, so we talked about Johannes de Silentio,
Right, Johann.
who grappled with that story of Abraham and Isaac.
Yeah, that intense story.
He represents that leap of faith, that religious stage.
That leap into the unknown.
Yeah, yeah.
The embrace of the unknown.
Okay, but what about someone like
Well, let's look at
Victor Eremita?
Victor Eremita.
Okay, that name rings a bell.
So Victor, if the aesthetic stage had a spokesperson,
Okay.
it would be Victor.
Okay.
He's all about pleasure, beauty, living in the moment.
Okay.
And Kierkegaard actually has him write this whole section
Yeah.
of either or,
Oh.
where it's just filled with these witty observations, stories
Yeah.
about the allure of that aesthetic life.
So he's like the life of the party.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
guy who's always chasing the next thrill.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even through Victor, Kierkegaard is showing us the limitations of that lifestyle.
Yeah.
There's a certain emptiness,
Right.
a lack of depth that can come with just constantly chasing those fleeting pleasures.
So it's like he's presenting both sides.
Exactly. He's showing us both sides of the coin.
The allure and
The allure and the disillusionment,
yeah, the possible downside.
without telling us which side is right or wrong.
He's not telling us which side to choose.
Exactly.
It's up to us.
He's not preaching. He's provoking.
He's making us think.
He wants us to engage with these ideas,
Yeah.
to wrestle with them,
Yeah.
to come to our own conclusions.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
That's it.
Okay, and that makes me think about how a lot of philosophy,
Yeah.
it's about asking the right questions, not necessarily finding the right answer.
And for Kierkegaard, that process of questioning, that doubting, even despairing,
Yeah.
that was all essential for growth.
Okay.
It was part of the path
So it's okay
to authentic faith.
to struggle with these things.
Struggle, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's part of the human experience.
It's all part of the process.
Yeah, it's about accepting that ambiguity
Yeah.
rather than trying to force everything into a neat little box.
You know, this is making me realize that this guy,
Yeah,
his ideas are still so relevant.
they are.
I mean, he was writing centuries ago,
Centuries ago.
but it feels like he's speaking directly to us today.
Especially in a world that's so obsessed with,
Right.
quick fixes and easy answers.
Yeah, like, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Tell me how to live my life.
And Kierkegaard saying, no, no, no.
Yeah.
You have to figure it out yourself.
He's like, slow down.
Slow down.
Think about this.
Question everything.
Engage with the world.
Wrestle with those big existential questions.
Right. And those insights
Yeah.
into anxiety, despair, the search for meaning.
It's timeless.
It's timeless stuff.
It resonates across generations and cultures.
Totally.
And especially now,
Yeah.
when we're bombarded with so much information.
Right. Overwhelmed with choices.
So many choices, yeah.
And speaking of challenging the status quo,
Right.
we have to talk about his critique of the church.
Oh, yeah. His critique of the church.
I mean, he was really critical of how faith was often presented
Yeah.
as this set of rules, doctrines.
As dogma.
Yeah.
Kierkegaard wasn't shy about challenging the institution
Yeah.
that was supposed to represent the faith that he held so dear.
Right. So he was a believer.
He was a believer, but he saw how the church,
Yeah.
at least in his time and place,
Yeah.
had become too focused on appearances,
Okay.
on rituals, dogmas, and had lost sight of the true spirit of Christianity.
So it was like they were going through the motions.
Yeah, going through the motions.
Instead of really
not really
living it.
experiencing it.
Yeah.
And he saw that emphasis on conformity,
Yeah.
on social acceptance,
Right.
as a kind of betrayal of that radical, individualistic nature of faith
Okay.
that he found so compelling in the Bible.
Like, what would Kierkegaard be saying if he was alive today?
I don't know, maybe he'd be writing blog posts?
Yeah, like a religious rebel.
A religious rebel,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this all ties back to that idea of subjective truth.
Right.
Remember, for Kierkegaard, faith wasn't about just blindly accepting things. It was about wrestling with those doubts,
Yeah.
embracing the unknown, forging your own path.
So it's a much more
It's dynamic.
dynamic and challenging view
Yeah.
of faith than what we typically hear.
It's not about being spoon-fed the answers.
Right.
It's about actively seeking, questioning,
Yeah.
even struggling to understand.
Right. So it's not about the destination.
It's about the journey.
It's about the journey.
Exactly.
He believed true faith was about taking that leap of faith.
That leap into the unknown.
That terrifying,
Yeah.
but also exhilarating plunge into the unknown.
Okay, so I'm starting to see why he's considered, forerunner to existentialism.
Oh, absolutely.
That emphasis on
Individual choice.
individual choice,
Yeah.
responsibility,
Accountability.
facing that absurdity of existence.
Absurdity, yeah.
It all kind of flows from
It all connects.
that view of faith.
Absolutely. Kierkegaard's ideas really laid the groundwork
Yeah.
for later thinkers like Sartre,
Yeah.
Camus,
Yeah.
who explored the same themes of freedom, responsibility, searching for meaning.
Yeah, in a world that often feels meaningless.
Exactly.
One of the things that I'm realizing is that Kierkegaard wasn't just a philosopher.
Yeah,
He was like a psychologist, too.
that's a great point.
He had this incredible ability
He
to,
understood the human condition.
yeah, to dissect the human
He
condition.
was a master at exploring those inner conflicts. And that's what makes his work so compelling even today.
Even today.
He was dealing with these issues
Timeless issues.
where we all still face.
Absolute.
He makes you realize that some questions,
Yeah.
they don't have easy answers.
There you go.
And maybe that's okay.
And maybe that's okay.
Maybe the real value is in that wrestling.
In the process.
In that grappling.
The grappling, the questioning.
Those uncertainties.
Yeah, embracing the questions themselves.
You know, all this talk about leaps of faith,
Right.
embracing the unknown.
Yeah.
It's got me thinking, it's not just about religion, is it?
It's not.
I mean, there's so many areas of life
Right?
where we take those kinds of leaps,
Like what?
like starting a business, falling in love,
That's a big one.
pursuing some kind of creative passion.
Taking a risk.
Yeah, those all involve
Absolutely.
uncertainty, risk,
Yeah. Venturing into the unknown.
venturing into the unknown.
That's a great observation.
And it makes those ideas feel so relevant.
It speaks to the relevance
Yeah.
of Kierkegaard's ideas.
That leap of faith,
Yeah.
that willingness to embrace uncertainty.
To choose your own path.
Yeah, to choose your own path.
It's a fundamental human experience.
It goes way beyond religion.
Way beyond religion.
It's like he's giving us permission
Yeah.
to step outside of our comfort zone,
Push yourselves.
to challenge ourselves, to create a life that's truly our own.
Beautifully said.
And it's in those moments of courage where we choose to act,
Despite the fear.
despite the fear, the uncertainty,
Yeah.
that we really discover who we are.
That's where we discover who we are.
Wow, this is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Kierkegaard's making me rethink everything.
He's making you question everything.
Yeah,
That's what he wants.
about faith, about choice, about life.
About the human experience.
Yeah, about the human experience.
And you know what's even more fascinating?
What's that?
Even though he was so focused on the individual, Kierkegaard also recognized the importance of community.
Really?
Yeah.
I always thought of him as being all about that, like,
The solo journey.
the solo spiritual journey.
Well, he definitely emphasized the personal nature of faith.
Yeah.
But he also knew that we're not meant to exist in isolation.
Okay.
He saw the church
Right.
in its ideal form
Yeah.
as a place where people could come together
Right.
to support each other,
Yeah.
to share their struggles, their insights,
And find strengths
in that shared belief.
in that shared experience. Yeah.
So it's not an either.
It's not either.
It's both.
It's gone.
You need that personal aspect,
You need both.
but also that communal aspect.
that connection.
Yeah, that connection.
And that's so relevant today
yeah.
when so many people are feeling isolated.
Right. Disconnected. It's like he's saying, hey, you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
Go ahead and wrestle with those big questions.
But remember, you're part of something bigger.
You're part of a community,
You're part of a community.
a shared human experience.
Yeah, exactly.
That's beautiful.
And on that note,
Yeah.
I think it's time to wrap up part 2
Oh, okay.
of our Kierkegaard deep dive.
Part 2.
But before we go,
Right.
we want to leave you with a little thought grenade,
A thought grenade, right?
as we like to call them.
I like that.
So Kierkegaard believed that true faith wasn't about blind acceptance.
It wasn't about just accepting things.
It was about wrestling with doubt, embracing the unknown.
that leap of faith.
That leap of faith.
Yeah.
So we want to ask you,
Yeah.
dear listener,
What does a leap of faith mean to you?
does it have to be tied to religion?
Yeah.
Or can it be something broader?
Something that applies to other areas of your life.
But think about that.
Ponder that.
We'll be back soon to finish up
Yeah.
our deep dive into the world of Søren Kierkegaard. Welcome back, for the final part of our Kierkegaard deep dive.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
We've explored his world, his ideas about faith,
Yeah.
existence, even those pseudonyms, those masks he used.
Philosophical masks.
Yeah, like we'd been
It's like we've been deciphering a code
uncovered.
and peeling back the layers.
Yeah, layers of meaning with each new concept.
Yeah.
It's through it all.
Yeah.
This theme keeps coming up,
What's that?
the power of individual choice.
Oh.
Kierkegaard was all about taking responsibility for our own lives.
Creating meaning.
Yeah, creating meaning.
Even when the world feels,
Even when things feel chaotic.
chaotic and absurd.
No easy answers from this guy.
No easy answers.
Just a challenge to really forge our own path.
That's the heart of it.
Yeah.
Embracing the subjective, the personal.
Right. So truth isn't just out there waiting to be discovered.
No, it's not just waiting for us.
It's something we create
We create it.
through our choices, our experiences.
Such as,
It's like he's saying, stop waiting for someone to give you a map.
Go explore the terrain yourself,
Go explore the terrain yourself.
even if you get lost.
Even if you get lost, yeah. Which, let's be honest,
We all do sometimes.
we all get lost sometimes.
Yeah.
But maybe those detours, those wrong turns,
Yeah, those are often.
those are where we learn the most.
That's where the real learning happens.
Kierkegaard believed that struggling, doubting, even despairing,
It's all part of the process.
it's all part of the process.
Yeah, it's not about seeking comfort or easy solutions.
It's about engaging in that struggle.
Yeah, for meaning, for authenticity.
You know, I'm really seeing why he's considered such an important figure,
Yeah.
even all these centuries later,
Still relevant.
in a world that's obsessed with quick fixes,
Right.
instant gratification.
Instant gratification.
Kierkegaard's like this voice saying,
Slow down.
slow down.
Pay attention.
Engage.
Think deeply.
Yeah, the real journey is inward.
Confront those big questions.
It's about confronting those big questions.
Yeah, wrestling with those existential dilemmas.
And he gives us the tools to do that.
he does.
Those pseudonyms,
Those different perspectives.
all those different lenses to look through.
Yeah, like lenses to examine our own beliefs.
It's like he created this philosophical toolbox.
I love that. A philosophical toolbox.
Yeah.
Filled with these thought-provoking concepts.
Yeah, challenging questions.
Making us think.
Yeah, designed to help us make sense of our own lives.
That's what makes him so timeless.
Yeah, and his insights into anxiety,
Despair.
the search for meaning,
These are universal.
universal human experiences.
They transcend time and place.
You know, one thing that really struck me about Kierkegaard
What's that?
was his emphasis on love.
Love.
Yeah, which seems kind of counterintuitive.
Right, because he's known for being so
So serious, so intense.
serious and intense.
But it seems like at the core of it
At the core.
was this belief in the power of love.
The transformative power of love.
So it wasn't just about romantic love.
No, it was something deeper,
It was something bigger.
more expansive.
Yeah, more expansive.
He saw love as the ultimate expression of faith,
Okay.
as the force that connects us to something greater.
To something beyond ourselves.
Beyond ourselves, to God, to each other.
That's beautiful.
It's that binding force
Yeah.
that gives meaning and purpose.
Even in the midst of all the anxiety.
The despair.
Yeah, the heavy stuff.
There's that underlying current of love
That can sustain us.
that can guide us.
So it's not all doom and gloom with Kierkegaard.
No, not at all.
It makes you realize that even though he was so focused on the individual,
Yeah.
he also understood that we need each other.
We're not meant to be alone.
Remember his critique of the church.
Yeah.
It wasn't that he was rejecting community altogether
No, he was challenging the institution
to live up to its ideals,
to be that source of support
to be that source of connection.
for individuals on their journey.
So it's not about choosing between the individual and the communal.
It's about finding that balance,
Yeah, finding that
that
balance.
interplay between the two.
That's such a relevant message for today.
Absolutely.
When so many people are searching for belonging,
Searching for purpose
a sense of connection.
in a world that can feel so fragmented,
Yeah.
so isolating.
It's like Kierkegaard's reminding us
You're not alone.
we're all in this together.
Navigating the complexities of life.
Yeah. We can find strength in that shared experience.
Beautifully said.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive,
We have.
from Copenhagen to these groundbreaking ideas.
That still challenge and inspire us.
It's been a whirlwind,
A true deep dive.
a true deep dive into existential thought.
Exactly.
And for our listeners,
Yeah.
we hope this has sparked some of those thought grenades.
Those thought grenades? Yeah.
We encourage you to explore Kierkegaard's work.
Yeah, discover your own interpretations.
Yeah, discover your own insights.
There's a whole world of thought
A whole world of thought waiting to be uncovered.
waiting to be explored.
And remember, even though Kierkegaard dealt with some really heavy stuff,
Yeah.
the heart of it
At the heart of it,
is a message of hope.
a message of empowerment,
The human capacity for love.
for connection,
He reminds us that we have the power to choose our own path,
to create our own meaning,
to find those moments of grace,
of beauty.
even in the midst of life's challenges.
Beautifully said.
So, until next time,
Yeah.
keep diving deep,
Keep questioning,
keep exploring,
keep connecting.
and we'll see you on the next deep dive.